So, question: is the Xbox One X and the PlayStation 4 Pro worth the money? Today, we putting consoles in the hot seat.
Have a seat there and get comfortable for a minute.
What's good, YouTube? Dorsey Made Gaming here, y'all. And today we got consoles in the hot seat. It's a very hot topic talking about consoles. A lot of people are pro PlayStation. A lot of people are pro Xbox. And then you got those Nintendo fanboys in the background wishing that the Switch could live up to what the Xbox and the PlayStation are doing. But I digress. Today we talking about the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One X. Are they worth the money? Me personally, I have a PlayStation 4 Pro. I've had the regular PlayStation. I got an Xbox One S. But is it worth the money? First of all, I'll start off with the PlayStation 4 Pro. First of all, I'm going to be honest with you, there's not a difference between the consoles. Long story short, if you want these game consoles, it's really going to boil down to how big are you on graphics and frame rate. Now, me myself, I'm huge on graphics. If I'm paying 60, 70 bucks for a game and I'm paying $300-400 for a console, man, it better look like me looking at myself type graphics. You get what I'm saying? For certain games, I know games like Dragon Ball Z is not going to be realistic because it's a cartoon, but even to have a game that's capable of looking that way, that's pretty awesome to have. Graphically, the PlayStation 4 Pro compared to the PlayStation 4, you can notice a difference. And it's really up to the person. Some people have a really good attention to detail, such as myself. Some people, they don't really quite pay attention to the details, so they could miss the graphic enhancements that these games provide. As far as graphics go, I've always told y'all, when you look at like a 4K resolution, 4K resolution is all well and fine. You're not going to notice so much of a difference with 4K. The HDR is what brings out those pixels. It's kind of like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, man. 4K is just the peanut butter sandwiches. It's good. I mean, it tastes good as peanut butter, but it gets stuck to the roof of your mouth, and then you got to get something to wash it down. It's good, but it's a hassle. But you add that jelly with it. See, that jelly is that HDR, man. You add that jelly with that peanut butter, and it just goes together, man. So without HDR, I would not be a fan of the PlayStation 4 Pro or the Xbox One X. It's not worth the money because graphically, even with 4K, if you do not have HDR, you're looking at an extremely bland picture. So what I'm going to put up on the screen here is just an image, an illustration that you can see with 4K, not with 4K, but with HDR on and without HDR. So let's take a look at that. All right, y'all. So taking a look at these images, it's going to be about 3 images that's going to pop up on your screen. You're going to notice in these images what is HDR. First of all, HDR stands for high dynamic resolution. It basically makes the blacks blacker, the whites whiter, the grays grayer, and it causes your shadows and colors to pop because of this, because it basically adds more color spectrum to the spectrum wheel that your eyes are able to notice. So in like this image here, you're actually seeing a TV screen, 2 separate screens with the exact same image. The one on the right has HDR turned on. You can see an amazing difference. And I'm going to tell y'all, playing a lot of these games, you can tell a difference when HDR is on and when it's off. When it's off, the screen looks whitewashed in a sense. I've noticed that playing 2K. I've noticed it playing Forza. I noticed it playing, several games that has HDR equipped. And like here as well, the image on the left looks whitewashed in a sense, and the image on the right looks more true to life. That is what HDR does to the images, to the games, the videos, whatever it is. So as you can see from these images, HDR is a game changer, and it is a make or break. If like I said, if it didn't have HDR, then I couldn't see myself paying for these consoles. With the HDR on there, looking the way that it does, you can kind of see, like I said, it looks good. It makes a difference. And you're looking at that on both consoles. Now, with the regular PlayStation 4, they did have a feature where you could turn HDR on or off. But here's the thing, you have to have a TV that's capable of doing HDR. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So, me at the time, I didn't have my 4K TV. I had just the standard 1080p TV. Turn HDR on, and I didn't notice the difference. I didn't think it did anything until I got the 4K TV with HDR. And the PlayStation 4 Pro, even with the regular one, the TV lets you know when it's displaying in HDR. It looks amazing, especially with the 4K. So, as far as the PlayStation 4 Pro, now you do have some frame rate options in games like Shadow of Mordor, for instance. You can have the better resolution, but it's going to have a fixed frame rate of about 30 frames per second. Or you can have a 60 frame per second with upgraded graphics, but not as good as that 4K with HDR. So it's really up to you. But now these consoles are getting to the point, even the PlayStation 4 Pro, because they've got an update coming with the Vega that's going to give it more power, more teraflops. Sony put it in the PlayStation 4 Pros, and now that this thing is going to be released, Sony's basically going to flip a switch to activate it in the system. And there you go. The PlayStation 4 Pro just became almost as powerful as the Xbox One X. Yeah, Sony's notorious for doing things like that. Just like the USB 3.0, it was already in there. They just had to patch it, do a system update to activate it in a sense, to do 3.0. So, that's not a surprise with Sony. If you know them, they do that with their consoles. And I'm pretty excited about that. So, but still, as far as the Pro goes, that's the main difference that I noticed, and then like playing games like Destiny. Destiny has a fixed frame rate. So there's no PlayStation 4 Pro enhanced version of Destiny. Now, if they do that in Destiny 2, I don't know. I would hope so. I would love that 4K HDR with 60 frames per second. And as far as the frame rate, it's like I said, it's really up to the game that you're playing. A higher frame rate provides for a smoother running game. It's not choppy. It's not kind of laggy in a sense. It's smooth. And if I was playing Neo, and they had the PlayStation Pro Enhance. You could do the 30 frames per second with the high resolution, or you could do the lock that the 60 frames at high resolution, or you could do the 30 with the 4K. There is a difference, and you notice it a lot in fighting games, especially, or first-person shooters, games like that, where that 60 frames per second differs from that 30 frames per second. And frame rate is really huge, especially in the tournament scene and stuff like that. Madden, as of right now, runs at 60 frames per second. But like I said, there's a lot of games that only run at 30. And the only way you're going to notice the difference is if you kind of turn it off and on, in a sense, and then some people, like they said, they just have a keen eye. They can tell a difference between those frame rates, and it is noticeable. Like I said, I was playing Neo. I switched it from 30 to 60. You can tell a difference, just like you can tell a difference between the HDR and the HDR on or off, the HDR or the SDR, which is standard dynamic range or whatever like that. But I digress. Now, as far as the Xbox goes, this is where it bothers me. Now, y'all know I'm non-biased because I have both consoles. I'm not pro Sony. I'm not pro Xbox. I do use my Pro a lot more simply because the PlayStation's interface is a lot more user friendly. The Xbox has so many menus, and for me, I don't like going through all that. I like to just get to where I'm going, but I digress. Now, this is what bothers me, because whenever the PlayStation 4 Pro was coming out around the same time the Xbox One S was, Microsoft took shots at Sony saying, hey, you're using 4K upscaling. And they presented the Xbox One S as if it did native 4K. A lot of Xbox fanboys would say, it does 4K. The PlayStation 4 just does upscaling. Even on their box, Microsoft marketed 4K, because I was working at GameStop. I remember we had the stickers that we had to put on there. We had a sticker that said 4K. We had a sticker that said HDR. And it even advertised it in some of the marketing things that we did inside of the store. We knew that the Pro was upscaling, and the Xbox One S was supposed to be native or close to native. Microsoft basically said they wasn't using checkerboard rendering. I guess that came out to be a lie, because you have to ask yourself, if the Xbox One S did 4K, what's the need for the One X? They both do 4K and HDR. It's those teraflops, those freaking teraflops. But let me tell y'all something about teraflops. If the developers don't utilize it, it's money down the drain. You see what I'm saying? Now, be that as it may, the the developers want to use those powerful consoles. They want to give that experience also for them as well as for the gamer itself. But you know, it's one of those things where, like, for instance, Horizon Zero Dawn on the PlayStation 4 Pro was an Xbox exclusive, PlayStation exclusive. Anyway, people was like, oh, it's going to max out the Pro. Well, the developer said, you know, no, we only use, I think they said maybe like 30% or 30 to 50% of the Pro's power on Horizon Zero Dawn, which blew people's minds because of how amazing it looked. And the only reason they weren't able to utilize more power of the PlayStation 4 Pro is because they were already in late development by the time the PlayStation 4 Pro was released, or between those windows they were already in late development, so it was taking more time and things of that nature. So that was very interesting because that was one of the selling games for the Pro, and it is a beautiful, beautiful game. I mean, God, it looks awesome. If you haven't seen it, go and see it. Go and play it. Check it out. Look up some YouTube videos or something. And that's another thing. Looking at these videos on YouTube, it doesn't serve justice on these consoles. When you have a 4K console with HDR, there's no YouTube video that you can watch that's going to give you that same resolution as if you were putting it in the disc into your console or playing to download a game onto your console. The reason why is because while some videos may stream in 4K, on YouTube, a lot of users don't do it, especially in gaming, because it takes up so much memory and data to do that. But YouTube doesn't do HDR. So you're still missing out. I mean, I could record something and show you the difference. Just like in these pictures right here, you can see the difference. But it is amazing. It is a night and day difference having it in a picture or a video than actually seeing it on your screen. But I digress. So the Xbox One X, we know it's one of the most powerful consoles to date. Neither consoles are rivaling the PC by any means. The PC is just miles ahead. You look at Destiny 2 on the PC, it has an unlocked frame rate, like, man, and they're up to 8K resolution and things of that nature. But the Xbox One X is to me, I don't know if it's worth the money, especially for me, in a sense, having a PlayStation 4 Pro. The Xbox One X, I mean, the only thing that I'm getting is basically the frame rate increases. I know there's going to be more options for the games, but the fact that Microsoft said we're not going to make Xbox One X exclusive games, that's why I'm really not just so much trying to upgrade. Only reason I upgraded on the PlayStation 4 Pro is because my PlayStation my 4 had actually messed up, and so I had to get a new one. So I was like, why not just get the Pro? You see what I'm saying? But I really would have liked if either of those games had exclusives, in a sense, because when you look at games like Madden, 2K, NBA Live, whatever the case may be, you basically still have a last gen and a next generation console, because what these developers are doing, they're making these games to fit the standard Xbox One and the standard PlayStation 4. So you have the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One X that are miles more powerful than these other consoles. But where do they benefit? You see what I'm saying? Where do they differ? The power of these consoles is very similar to probably like a PlayStation 3 going up to a PlayStation 4 type in power differential, but these developers aren't utilizing that. You see, a lot more space, a lot more RAM, a lot more memory. I remember back like PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1, you could have Madden 05, Madden whatever the year was, two of the same games, but they had different features on both consoles, on different consoles. There was features on the PlayStation 2 that they just couldn't put on the PlayStation 1, and vice versa for the 2 and the 3. You see what I'm saying? But I digress. It would, it's borderline, y'all. I'm gonna say this: if you got the money to do it, do it. Like I said, the graphics look good. Being able to adjust your frame rate and switch between that and graphics is cool. PC guys been doing this for a long time. But looking at, as far as the PlayStation 4, the regular PlayStation 4 and the regular Xbox One, y'all, to be honest with you, if graphics isn't your thing, if you don't care for graphics, it's really not worth the upgrade, because you're still getting the same games. They're not putting anything different in them at all. So I don't know. But it's really going to be up to you which console that you get. I mean, like I said, some people are just pro. The one thing about the Xbox One X is this: the pre-orders have completely sold out. And I know people are balking at that, but at the same time, how many was available for pre-order? You get what I'm saying? Is it enough to save Microsoft? It really depends. I'm gonna tell you what's hurting Microsoft, in my opinion, is the exclusives. They need better exclusives. You know, the PlayStation wrecked them last year when it came to exclusives. You had Horizon Zero Dawn, you had Neo. Um, Neo was all right. Neo was all right. Horizon Zero Dawn was awesome. MLB The Show. I mean, the PlayStation 4 has better exclusives. You know, what exclusives do Xbox have working for them? You see what I'm saying? And I know that they have some coming in, but you know, these are a lot of from what we saw at E3. There seem to be a lot of um, um, what do you call them? I can't even think of the word for them. You know, they're not AAA titles. Basically, is what I'm saying. They're not AAA titles, and that's what a lot of gamers want is AAA titles. You know, but I mean, there's pros and cons to both of them. I would say just do your research. I always tell people if you're looking for a console that's going to be in your living room, you can watch Netflix, you know, movies, you want to watch TV shows. If it's for the family and gaming, I would say go with the Xbox because that's what it is. It's your all-in-one console and you still get the benefit of those awesome games. But if it's going to be in your room, all you're going to be doing is playing games on it. You might watch some YouTube or something here or there. I would say go with the PlayStation 4 because it doesn't have all those television apps and stuff like that, satellite and all that, like the Xbox has. So all in all, that's my take on it, y'all. But it's up to you, like I said, in the end, which console you want to get. They're both awesome consoles. The games pretty much look the same on both of them. And there's not a difference aside from the 4K HDR and the frame rates from the Pro and the Xbox One X to the Xbox One S and the Xbox One to the PlayStation 4. So you're really not missing nothing. Like I said, if you got the cash to do it and you want it, go and get it. But don't stress yourself out about it, especially with the Xbox One X. Give it a couple of months and it'll be a lot cheaper, just like the PlayStation 4 Pro will be coming up. But that's all I got for right now, y'all. Till next time, and God bless.